Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Agency Mastery Series. We're starting just a little bit early, letting folks trickle in, but I'm here, Chris, with Marie Cole, who will be interviewing today. While we're waiting for the last few folks to trickle in, we'd love to hear just in the chat, where are folks tuning in from? It's always fun to see where folks are joining. Montana. Hello from Montana.
Beautiful country.
Oh, yeah. Big sky. Got some Houston. Florida, I could definitely use some Florida weather right now. It's freezing rain in Colorado. And Marie, where are you tuning in? Where are you joining us from?
I'm in San Jose, California.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're probably enjoying fair weather than us. Nova Scotia. Cool.
I was seeing Myrtle Beach too. I'm from South Carolina, so I'm loving
Ooh,
anything at the beach there.
yeah. You spent a lot of time in Hilton Head.
Yeah, it's beautiful there.
Mm-hmm. Kalispell. All right. Cool. So we got a good smattering all over the country. What about international? We got any international audience? We'll see. I don't know what time it would be if you were joining. Santa Rosa. Hi, Kathleen.
Oh,
Ooh,
Kathleen, you're in my
Wisconsin.
neighborhood, not too far away.
Ooh, nice. Although I feel like now in this day and age, everything just feels far away with COVID. I just feel everything's remote, everything's distanced. Huntsville, Alabama. All right. Hey, George. All right. Well, it is 2:30, so we will jump in and make the most of our time. Marie, thank you so much for joining us with last minute notice. You are a saint. Really appreciate you jumping in on this conversation. Today, we're going to be talking about building a scalable agency, and that's a big topic. But before we get started, Marie, I just wanted to see if you'd like to give us a quick background, who you are, what you do, and how you help businesses.
Sure. So my name is Marie Cole, and I am the owner and founder of Spin Nest Marketing, and we're a full-service graphic and design firm. And I like to think of us as a big agency, but to be fair, we're sort of in that middle of the road. While we offer full services in-house, we handle strategy, graphic design, social media management, email marketing, we build websites. So we cross that gamut, but if things go outside that window, we outsource and still manage it for clients. But we're a small agency. We have 3 employees. You're looking at my space. It's fairly small, but we like to say that we build big brands. So we love to deliver big ideas, but with that small agency and personalized feel. And we specialize in that middle of the road client, from small business to medium. So while we have some large clients, I would say our wheelhouse is in that small to medium market.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And now that we know that you're a little bit better, let's just dive right in. So for folks who are tuning in, we will leave some time at the end for Q&A. So do share any questions you have in the chat. We'll get to them at the end. Just know we are not ignoring you, or you can save them to the end if you want to. But now with a little bit of that housekeeping out of the way, Marie, there's always talk about scalability, and I feel like it just sounds like a jargon word at this point, just like scalability and profit margins and easing the cost of acquisition. But I feel like it's just this blanket term for growth that we use. So I'd be really curious, with so many different ways to kind of approach this as a business problem. What is your perspective? What's your approach to this, especially as it relates to building, a small or mid-sized agency?
Yeah. Well, first I want to tell you that when we started, we had no idea what we were getting into in terms of being able to scale our product that we put in. We had a great idea, and we knew that we had the skill set to deliver the design, and we knew we had the skill set to sell it, and we knew we had the right platform, right? So we vetted every platform out there, trust me, and we knew we finally found a good fit. But then the very first thing that happened was, well, what do people do? Like, how does this all look? And so we realized very quickly that our number one missing ingredient, and this is a must have to scale, is automation. Automation, automation, automation. And believe me, we had our first few clients, and we had no idea what to do. I mean, they said, we'll sign up for your program, your membership. And we were like, great, what do we do now? And so we learned very quickly that automation is the number one ingredient to having a really good scalable model. The next ingredient that I think that I want to share is don't be afraid of slow and steady, because in the end, it wins the race. So when you do the math in your head, so suppose you are trying to come up with a scalable monthly fee, like a membership model. In your head, you say, okay, if I charge my clients $100 a month and I get just 25 clients, I'm going to be making this. And that sounds great, but 25 clients is a lot to manage. We are quite happy when we can bring on board, trickle in 1, 2, 3, 4, and then every week we start to see how we can add more in our numbers, like in volume. If we had added 5 clients on day 1, we would have been delivering the worst possible product. But because we waited and we grew really, really slow, we took all of the lessons. And so now when you join our membership, which is how we're scaling in a membership model, it's a very smooth process because of both automation and slow growth, which gives us that attention. So for me, it's those 2 main key ingredients.
Cool. So let's dive into that first one, automation, because again, that's another word. It's just like, cool, hashtag automation, build your business, and it's a fun word to throw around. How have you used it successfully? Like, in what ways did you apply automation to your business when you were struggling? And just can you share a little bit about that experience?
Sure. Well, I can give you sort of a worst case scenario, which is you finish a demo call and then 8 out of the 10 people on that demo call want to sign up, and they want to sign up immediately, and they pay you, and you have no mechanism in place to automate the first pieces of information that they get. So like for us, in the beginning, we didn't know what to do. It took us days to get that number of people onboarded. But now we can quickly add them into an email drip campaign. And so right away, while they're waiting on us to get things ready for them, we can automate some drip and they can start learning. The other little piece of the puzzle, and I'm really excited, and you don't even know about this, is we created our own really awesome tutorial videos that look like your videos, but they have our branding and our spokesperson on them. And so we start putting people through our own tutorials and our own, process. And so by the time we get to the onboarding call with them, which is where all the sweet sauce is, right? That's the good stuff, that first one-on-one, we recognize that they're ready. So we've automated that readiness process, and that has wiped away so much time. We were spending anywhere from 2 to 3 hours per client before, and now we send the automation series and we are on a one-on-one call for about 40 minutes, and that's enough to get them started. And so that's kind of how we've used it.
So how much time were you spending before that, before you had put these automations in place? Man, can you even
Well, the
that?
one-on-one call, which should only be less than an hour, was taking an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then that turned into 2 to 3 more onboarding calls that were covering just some basic stuff that we find our clients just don't understand. So agencies who are going to use this tool for themselves can master it, and that's great. But when you're ready to scale it to clients, there is a level of training that is unforeseen there that you really need. Like, for example, we would have clients who would sign up for our membership, and then once they signed up, we would get in and realize that they didn't even have their Instagram and Facebook connected. And so we've got another 20 minutes trying to help them even fix their social media in order to get them ready to go into the platform. And when you understand our platform a little bit better, and I think I'll have a chance to tell you all about that, you'll know why that's so important. But our automation series solved that. So I don't even have to say it anymore. It's done by the time we have the onboarding call.
Yeah, and so one of the biggest piece, or one of the maybe tenets to kind of building a scalable company, maybe like the check boxes you want to hit, is really easing that customer acquisition process, making sure that getting them on not only on into your service, but making sure that experience is that white glove treatment. Like you just physically can't do that on your own. You build basically what I call build the plane as you fly it. You get a customer, now you're trying to get them on board by yourself. You have to create those systems and frameworks to still deliver that value, and just do it without providing that resource.
Yeah.
In terms of your onboarding practices, as you're building this to address a growing customer base, what processes do you have to kind of go back and revisit them? It's not just set it and forget it, right?
Right. So we learned a lesson, a valuable one from you guys, actually, when we first signed up with you to use you as our platform. And that was, it is very overwhelming after that first call. I remember mine very well with your first person that we talked to. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm never going to figure this out. But one of the things that we really loved about our process with you was the fact that we had this regular call set up. And then in between, we could answer the questions that we needed to. And so we just stole your idea, and we do the same thing. So we do we do the video series, the onboarding call, which is our first one-to-one. And then 2 weeks later, we leave them with some tasks, of course, in that first onboarding call. We're always available in between. And then 2 weeks later, we have what I like to call a quick check-in. And so it's a 15-minute, we'll answer any questions, show you anything. And then 30 days later, we start getting into some more intensive things. So for example, in our onboarding call, we never talk to clients about anything that's too deep that they might not understand. We tell them they can watch the video, but until the next call, we really don't get into anything too crazy, too deep. We just go through the basics, show them how to make a post, how to get it in the schedule, how to move it in the schedule, and some basic tips.
Awesome. And Lucas, I know I'm going to just go ahead and be a liar and take this question because it's very timely, Lucas. Thank you. In terms of the content that you're dripping, it sounds like it's educational, but are you also handling stuff through automation, technical things like connecting them?
We are not. We are doing that one-on-one. Well, we are asking them to connect themselves in the automation series, because our platform is not just use the scheduling tool, but we also deliver content in that tool. And so in order for us to deliver their first set of content, they need to have their social channels already plugged in. Otherwise, we can't load it, right? We can, but as you know how the tool works, if you load content in, it's going to automatically try to select the channels that are already in there. And so we try to go ahead and get clients to at least get their accounts linked up first. And then we load the content in, and then we do the onboarding call.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think Lucas too is there's a different ways to slice it, and it's going to change depending on how your business model is set up. And I think the purpose of this conversation too is what frameworks can we look through as we're building ours to do this, and you might have different tools or different frameworks or platforms that you're working with.
I was going to say to Lucas too, remember, my process starts on my website, not in my scheduler, right? And so I have integrations in my website, like Zapier to Constant Contact, to other things that allow that to happen that have nothing to do with the Cloud Campaign Scheduler in general, right? That's just what's happening in the membership pod.
Nice. So, this sort of thought of easing the customer acquisition process kind of lends itself into lowering the cost of acquiring new customers. What are some ways that you've gone about, tweaking and fine tuning your automation and scalability of your brand to kind of lower that cost?
Well, you're asking the right person because I'm a small business. So I don't have thousands of dollars to invest in, all of these crazy processes. In fact, when I first started, Zapier integration, which is great, like I couldn't even imagine paying for that. And so I had to find ways to get there. And so, cost savings is just, again, automation, but also online, right? I don't want to be obviously physically sending anything anywhere. I want to get people through any kind of training that they need in social media. We find that to be a big thing, that clients want a scheduler, but they actually don't even know how to use social media. So sometimes we put them through a training ahead of getting them in a scheduler. And so, uh, slow is my answer to that question. Don't jump into every single tool available to you. Just work one problem at a time, and just don't be so anxious to grow quickly. Like, grow in a nice pace so that you can figure out all the problems. And it'll save you a ton of money. And then, like I said, I have staff people. So I have a part-time person that comes in and does nothing but just generate content for my platform. I have another person who does our onboarding. So
Yeah, and I think I really appreciate what you said about just slow and steady in terms of growth. I think there is this tendency to just want to grow rapidly and growth at all costs. And sometimes when you are, that smaller, or to mid-sized agency or business, that type of growth might not be sustainable. And doing so, there comes there's other problematic things that come with that sometimes too, just like cutting corners, moving too quickly. Growing
yeah.
too fast can also be its own problem.
How about delivering terrible service, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not ready, the service, it just isn't there. And with a scheduling tool, if you deliver this to a client and they don't get it, they will not continue to want it. And so we want to make sure that they get that level of education across the whole process, so that they are in love with it before they're even really 100% all in. I just don't want to be onboarding people and then them canceling 2 months down the line because the content is terrible, or because they just don't know how, they can't figure it out, or they don't know how to use it, whatever it is. I want to keep them for long periods of time.
Yeah. So as we kind of move down this like list of check boxes of like, are you scalable or are you not? One of the other key tenets is a decoupling of your costs from your revenue growth. So basically, like the inputs that you put in, you're getting quite a significant return on those investments at a certain point. I think this is a little trickier topic to cover, especially at like a broad framework level. So I would be curious to your insights, in terms of these like nonlinear cost structures. How are you looking at your business and building kind of around this so that, you are making the right investments and getting the right amount of return from it?
Right. Well, as any good business owner would do, obviously there's competitive surveying happening all the time, right? I'm watching what other people are doing. I'm figuring out how to make it better. I'm, discovering their price points and versus what they're delivering. And so I want to make sure that my model looks different and yet still works in the same price range. And then in terms of the pricing structure, I think it is difficult to, like you said, there are so many different variables that would make one person price something one way versus another. We have multiple pricing structures. So you can join our membership in a content plus scheduler situation for one price. Now, that being said, I have built enough in there to cover my cost of design for all of the content, along with my cost of the platform, because that's a known cost, along with my staff and team, and the ability to discount it. So publicly on my website, you see one price, but then there are discounts that I still have, like an array I can use. So for example, one of our clients, which is in the real estate area, we give them a very specific discount, and they can have the tool and the content for that price. And so it's all about balancing. But let me tell you, when I first started, I was making $0, zero, because it was a lot of work to create a piece of content for every single day, to pay for the platform, to build out all the automation, to get the videos done. And so it was a long time before we even started seeing a profit. And I have to have a certain number of people active all the time in order to sustain that profit on a monthly basis. So for every month I go, I'm going to lose one or two. I've got to pick up 3 or 4, right? And so it's just a constant battle against the attrition of drop off versus new signups.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have a level of churn. It's just the reality of doing business. But making sure that you're acquiring new customers at a greater rate than you're losing them is always a
Right.
plus, right? So you talked about something that I think resonates with me. I'm wondering if it resonates with the rest of our audience, of just like this period of time when you're building and just starting out, of just goose egg coming in. You're hustling, you're working really hard on this content and building infrastructures, but as you do start kind of building a scalable business and a scalable profit center, there is a sort of like momentum of revenue that comes in. Have you experienced this? Like, as you started to kind of build these frameworks, these automations, did things start trickling into a buildup, or what was your experience with that?
Well, right away, the first experience we had with some of the automation was a lesser likelihood that they would give up on it sooner. So what we were seeing in the beginning was we would get a sign up, we would onboard them, but because we weren't prepared to continue training them, about 3 months in, we would look on their account and we would notice that they're not scheduling anything and they're not really using it, and yet they were paying us a monthly fee, and we're like, it's only a matter of time before they look at their credit card statement and say, why am I paying for this? And so, that was kind of like the first view into it. And then so when you ask me, is it more, I would say to you, it's a deeper client relationship, meaning I can show and demonstrate a longer period of time on the platform now versus when we first started, when they would usually drop off about 3 months in. So automation changed the game, because that's where you make money in membership-based type situations, is long-term, right? Because I don't even start making money on a customer until they've at least been a member for 2 months, because it costs me that long to onboard them, get them set up, get all their content loaded, all the things I need to do. It takes me 2 months to make back my investment. And so I need them to be a member for a year or more.
Yeah. So that again, it goes back to just like really powerful, really strong onboarding sequences and nurturing education in order to build that. But also, and that 2-month window is your, for your business, but I think, that calculation is definitely going to be different for every business. And I think it's beyond the scope of this conversation what that calculation is. But knowing, what it's going to take to, create these automations, the content that goes into it, and then, working backwards to make sure that at what point the customer, your client, is going to be profitable, it gives you something to target, and it gives you a window in terms of building your automations to be able to execute on that, I think.
Right. And too, that anything that you're doing, if you're not measuring it, then you really have no view into what is happening. And so measurement is key too. And don't be discouraged if in the beginning, it's working the way you think, and then you start having a little drop off. Well, what you need to do is just find your problem, and then you can bring it back. And that's why, again, slow growth allows you to find those problems quicker and easier with less number of people to fix. So that was a saving grace for us in our first few months.
Nice. So, I mean, we have discussed a lot about technology. The other kind of the final piece in sort of this, checklist of scalability is technology as a differentiator. And I know you leverage, different technologies. You also, outsource services to other, partners. So it seems like you're being very smart about how you go about your business. Um, and technology, like what you use, is going to be different based on who you serve and what your niche is. So I guess just open, like what tools do you like to use? What's worked well for you? Um, we won't throw any shade on any products.
Right. Yeah, we won't throw any shade on anyone. Well, first and foremost, my web-based stuff, right? I wanted to create, in the beginning, I wanted to create a website very quickly that people would go to. They could join the membership, and then I could get them going right away. And so I didn't want to hire a developer for that because I didn't have the funds to do it for this project. And so I used Wix. Believe it or not, a website builder that you can drag and drop easy. So this is how I started. Okay. And then I needed to lock it down so that it was member based. So I used I used member space actually to keep people locked into certain things. And so then the next piece of technology was when I learned my lesson about automation, right? And so we were already constant contact providers. So we used a simple integration from member space right into constant contact through Zapier, so that when someone joined, they would immediately start seeing the series of emails that we wanted them to see. And even if I was on vacation in Fiji, they were still getting started, right? And so that made it easier. And those are my secret sauce tools. But there's one more tool that I love to use, and that's from a design standpoint. So we have hired a company that does unlimited designs for us every single day of even when we're sleeping, they're designing. And so that has taken a huge burden off of my team to have to design our content. And that's Design Pickle, in case you want to, since we're calling out names.
Design Pickle?
Design Pickle, yes. They are amazing. I highly recommend them.
Lucas asked that question
Lucas
too.
said yes, Design Pickle. I love these guys. And so we have an upgraded account with them, and we can get them to do just about anything we want them to, including animation.
I've not heard of Design Pickle, but I love the name, so I'm definitely going to jump on that site as soon as we're done here.
Yeah, it's very cool. And so those are my key secret sauces, but obviously I have a few proprietary ones that I'm not going to share with the group. But I think if you depending on what you're trying to build, maybe you're planning on managing social media on behalf of your clients and you just want them to have the tool to help. I want people to use the tool on their own, and I'm just helping a little on the side, right? And so there's a different way of looking at it depending on how your model is.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is just making sure it's not a one size fits all template. And there might be opportunities where you don't want to necessarily give up some of that direct client-based interaction. But if you can automate the processes that happen kind of on the front and back end of those, I think it makes it a better relationship, because you can kind of get rid of the time-consuming parts and really spend all that time providing value to whomever you're serving. So with that, I do want to open it up to Q&A, since we're coming to the end of our half-hour session. We do have a couple questions that popped in the chat as we were talking, so I'll go to those first. Marie, do you work with specific niches? Kathleen would like to know.
Yes. So we, first of all, I think there was another person who asked the question, what is my membership site? So it is not my regular marketing site. Our membership site is called SpinNest 365, right? And so our tool is Social 365. And so because we have a huge real estate client base right now, we went after real estate first. And so we were delivering realtor-based content along with the scheduler. And then we have a business line, and then we're about to launch the health and wellness for medical offices. So we are not going to venture too far out of those three little wheelhouses, but we wanted to get real estate right first before we launched other niches. So.
Well, I'm glad that that question was asked. Thank you, Kathleen. And I'm actually really excited that you're diving into some more specific markets. We just put out an agency report at the beginning of this year, and one of the trends that we see as we kind of reviewed the performance of all of these agencies over the past year is this sort of shift to like a verticalization or specialization. So if you're interested, Marie, maybe a few months down the road, if you'd like to talk about your adventures into more specific niche markets, we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, sure. I could probably talk about all the problems that comes along with that too. I mean, we really started with real estate. We wanted to get that right. We have that rocking and rolling. It's the other two that have been a little hard, more of a challenge, but we're getting there.
Yeah, it'll be fun to kind of talk through some of those challenges and the successes. You got to
Yeah,
celebrate the
true.
wins too. And Jeb asked if he's joining late. Is it possible to get a recording? Yes, it is possible. You'll get that in your inbox shortly after the session is done. Lisa asks, do you purchase extended licenses for stock photos to use in the content you provide to clients like Adobe?
Right. Because we're using Design Pickle, those extended license already exist. So we're okay with the stuff that they're using. I am also a photographer, so I use a lot of imagery that I already have. But generally speaking, yeah.
I think, especially when you're smaller, you get a lot scrappier and you leverage what you can.
You guys are going to laugh at me, but my battery is running low and I forgot to plug in my computer.
Oh no. We'll see. Okay, well, if you can get plugged in. But in the meantime, I'll ask, do you mind sharing on average how many memberships you have each month? Asks Jennifer.
I'm not sure. Let me just, on average, we are onboarding 20, roughly.
Is that a fair answer, Jennifer?
I like it a little bit better when we're onboarding a few less than that. I know that sounds like a silly thing to say for a business owner, but it really gives me more time to work with those people and my team. And remember what I said at the beginning of this call, there are 3 people working here at Spin Nest, right? I don't know that we could handle more than 20.
Yeah, there's a creative that I follow named Paul Jarvis, and one of his messages is just like this concept of enough. Like, sure, maybe you could get 40 and like maybe you could handle it even if you had to redline, but like, do you need that? Is like there can be just like this is good, and maybe we can do it 25 next year but I just appreciate sort of when I meet other business owners and entrepreneurs that take a more methodical and steady, sustainable approach to growing their business instead of just like grow fast now.
I think it's a huge mistake to just throw something out there, a membership that totally isn't well thought through, and then just hope for as many members as you can, because guess what? You'll get them. And then what happens when you can't continue and sustain the level of care to them? Also, we want to turn our members into full-term clients too, because Spin Nest marketing does so much more than just social media platform and scheduling, right? We're selling promotional products. We do printing. We write strategy. We're doing graphic design. I want all of your business. And so if we can, gain additional channels through our other products, then I'm happy to, have slow growth with multiple channels being purchased. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. And we kind of discussed this before we went live. I've always worked as an in-house marketer, as an in-house creative. So, being able to like meet agencies that also have multiple value, like sometimes we need a trade show booth or we need something large printed, being able to kind of expand and broaden your services while still providing quality at scale. It's not something we talk about automating all of it, and it doesn't happen all overnight. It does take, that kind of steady, stable growth. Keegan asked, did you initially learn how to set up the tools, or did you hire someone to do it for you?
To set up all the tools that I use?
Yeah, Keegan, do you want to give us a little clarifying? Which tools specifically, or?
I mean, I'll go ahead and try to answer it with what I think he means, but like in terms of constant contact. So we as an agency were already constant contact solution providers. So we knew that tool inside and out. We were already managing social media, so we generally understood like all the basic scheduling tools. In fact, we were using a competing scheduling tool for our own clients when we started working with Cloud Campaign. So, and then we moved everyone over immediately. And then Zapier, that's a fairly easy integration. It works with all those tools. I mean, if you can move a mouse, you can pretty much figure out a Zapier integration. It just means allowing two things to sort of talk to each other. MemberSpace was online. I watched about 14 hours, I think, of tutorials on MemberSpace to learn how to use that. And then Wix, we're already a developer for them too, and have been for over 10 years. So we understood many of these platforms ahead of the game. Yes.
Cool.
If that's what he means.
Yeah. Keegan, did we answer your question there on that one? Yes. All right. Kathleen asked, how did you integrate Cloud Campaign into your membership site? Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, and I'll share it with you guys. My membership site is SpendNest 365, and so it actually was a little. It wasn't my favorite way to integrate it, but I know that one day soon, Cloud Campaign is going to come up with a really fabulous way for me to do it. But for now, it is a link in the membership site. So if you are a member of SpendNest 365, you can go to the website and click the link in the top right-hand corner, and you can go straight to your scheduler if you're already a member. If you're a member and you're just going to your dashboard to like get some of the delicious content that we're creating, then that's sort of a different place. And then we also give them the links. So every single week, we're reminding them via email, we're reminding them to approve content, to log in, and we give them little tasks to do. And then in that login, we also have a link to our special URL on Cloud Campaign. So to answer your question, it's not my favorite way, but it works.
Kathleen, did that give you something to chew on? Did that answer your question for you? And Marie is also alluding to some really exciting new features coming out here soon, which will make.
I haven't even heard that. This is
okay. Well,
stuff.
Yeah, we'll share some more information too with the post email of this recording to get you all excited about that. Let's see. Tiffany asked, what SM platform did you leave? She bets that you left for the same one.
Hootsuite.
Tiffany?
Right.
Survey says. Oh, the suspense is killing me.
I know, me too. Oh, they left Sprout. Okay, well, we almost had it.
Okay. And then I think this will be the last question for today before we wrap up. Shelly asks, can you share what platform you use for your membership site?
Wix.
Wix.
But it's integrated with MemberSpace.
Wix plus MemberSpace.
Okay, because I didn't really like, Wix didn't really have a good integration like internally for their memberships that worked. So I went to MemberSpace separately and used it as a plugin on Wix.
Awesome. And thank you for that, Tiffany. Appreciate it. All right, that's it for today's discussion. Marie, again, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed this conversation. Where can folks find you and your company?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I'm all about helping others. So if anyone needs advice or has a question afterwards, feel free to log on to my website, spendnestmarketing.com. And you can just, send me an email right there, info@spendnest.com, and I'll happily answer you. And then for my membership site, if you want to check that out, and it's always a work in progress, it is www.spendnest365.com.
And Lucas, thank you so much for posting that in the chat. Appreciate a proactive audience member, so thank you. And if you're interested in learning more about Cloud Campaign, the social media management software purpose-built for agencies, head over to cloudcampaign.io, jump on a free trial or schedule a demo with our team, and join us next month as we get sassy with as we dive into integrating software as a service for your digital agency. As always, a recording of this talk will be sent after we finish. So keep an eye out for keep an eye out for it in your email, and we'll also send you some exciting information about some new features coming up. Thanks so much for listening and tuning in, and we will catch you next month.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.